In this section 11-5, we're looking at cubic sequences. And so a cubic sequence is one where the third difference between the terms is constant. So let's take a look at this sequence. So the difference between 4 to 14, that's going to be 10. 14 to 40, 26. 40 to 88 is going to be 48. And 88 to 164 is going to be 76. Alright, so the first difference is not constant, so we know it's not arithmetic. Let's try for the second difference. So we're looking at 16, and we're looking at 22, 28. So since the second difference is not the same, it is also not quadratic. Third difference is going to be 6 and 6, and if we had extended it out more, we would see that it would be 6 every time. Constant third difference, which means we have ourselves a cubic sequence, which means the formula for the nth term is going to be something with n to the third power, cubic sequence. Alright, so that's how we know. Alright, so the first thing that we come to is a chart that kind of shows us how to come up with the formula for the nth term, and this is very similar to the table that we had for the quadratic sequences, right? In that it relates the terms out in terms of A, B, C, and D. In other words, if I plug in 1 for n, then that's going to be A plus B plus C plus D. If I plug in 2, the second term can be written in terms of A, B, C, and D, because 2 to the third is 8, so that's 8A. 2 squared is 4, 4B, and then C times 2 is 2C, and then plus D. So all these terms are first of all written out with A, B, C, and D. Then if I start taking the difference between the those terms, then 8A minus A, 7A, 4B minus B, 3B, 2C minus C, C, D minus D is gone. Alright, and so on down the line. And then I can take the difference, the second difference is in terms of A, B, C, and D, and even the third difference in terms of, well, really just A is all you would have left at that point by the time you get to the third difference. So if you have the sequence and you know what these numbers are, you can write a system of equations just like we had with the quadratic sequences. And then you can use that to solve for the A, B, C, and D. Then you can plug them back in here to the general formula, and then that will give you the formula for the nth term of that particular sequence. All right, so that's how that works, and we'll see some examples here in just a moment. All right, we also have the formula for the sum of a cubic sequence, for the sum. All right, so here's the formula where B is the first difference, C is the second difference, D is the third difference, A is the first term, and N is the number of terms. Alright, so this one is a little bit different in that, typically A sub 1 is considered the first term, but they just write it as an A for this particular formula. Alright, so just being familiar with what each one of the letters stands for here is helpful in finding the sum. Alright, so let's practice some problems now. Alright, so the first thing we come to is we have a sequence. We'll want to find the formula for the nth term. So first of all, we need to identify what type of sequence we have here by getting the differences. So 28, and we got 60, 104, and 160. Okay, so it is not arithmetic. So we got 32. Let me see what we got there. 44, 56. Alright, it's not quadratic either. And now we got 12 and 12. So we know we have ourselves a cubic sequence. Okay, so let's go ahead and solve for the things that we want to solve for. Remember, this is the general form. A n to the third plus b n squared plus c n plus d. Alright? And so we want to find the values for A, B, C, and D. Alright? So, remember, the third difference is 6a, right? And so I can now write 6a is equal to 12. 6a equals 12, which means my a is going to be equal to 2. So 2 is my a. Remember now, this second difference is 12a plus 2b. All right, well, I already know that a is 2, so 12 times 2 is going to be 24 plus 2b, and that difference is equal to 32. Alright, so now I can subtract 24 from both sides. I get 2b is equal to 8, and then I can divide by 2, and I now know that b is equal to 4. So I'm going to put 4 here. Alright, so once again now, I can look at the first difference as 7a plus 3b plus c. 7a, right? So that will be 7 times 2. We'll go ahead and write it as 14. Then it's going to be plus, the other part of it is 3 times b, so 3 times 4 is going to be 12, plus c. Now, what is that first difference equal to? Well, it's going to be equal to 28 in this case. So I'm going to set that equal to 28 and solve it for c. Alright, so 12 plus 14 is going to be 26 plus c equals to 28. And we subtract 26, we can see pretty quickly that my c is equal to 2. And so 2 is the value for c. Now I just need the value for d, and so remember the very first term is a plus b plus c plus d. So I need to go 2 plus 4 plus 2 plus d equals to that very first term, which is going to be 2. So I'm going to plug a 2 there. Alright, so I can add these things up now. That's going to be 4 plus 4 is going to be 8. I can subtract 8 from both sides, so my d is equal to negative 6. And so negative 6 goes here. So now I have all the values, a, b, c, and d. So I'm ready to plug back into the general form and get the correct equation for the formula for the nth term of this. So when I plug it in, okay, it's going to look like this. It's going to be 2 n to the third plus 4n squared, alright, plus 2n minus 6. So that would be the formula for the nth term of this particular sequence. If you want to double check it and make sure you did it right, plug in a 3 for n and see if you get 90. If you do, then you're pretty confident that you're on the right track. Alright, and so that is the right answer. Okay, so the next one, we have another one to do. So first of all, we need to identify what kind of a sequence we have. So it'll be 17, this will be 49, this will be 99, this will be 167, and we got 32 here, we got a 50 right here, and we got a 68 right here. Alright, so this becomes 18 and 18. So once again, it is a cubic sequence. And so again, my task is to find the values for A, B, C, and D so that I can plug back into the formula and come up with the nth term. So remember, 6A is equal to this term 18. So my A is going to be 3 here for this one. So 3 goes there. Alright, so remember the rest of it is going to be 12 times 3 plus 2b. Alright, so 12 times 3 is 36 plus 2b is going to be equal to 32 in this case. 32 goes here. Alright, so 32 minus 36, so 2b is equal to negative 4. So my b is going to be equal to negative 2 on this one. Alright. Now we need to see, and of course I'll go back and reference 7a plus 3b plus c. 7a, right? So we're talking about 7 times 3, which is 21. Alright, and then we're going to have a minus 6 because that's negative 2 times 3. And so then from there, we're going to have the plus c. Well, what's all that equal to? The first difference, 17. Alright, so 21 minus 6 is going to be 15. So I'll move the 15 to the other side also with the 17. 17 minus 15. That's going to make my c equal to 2. Right? And so my c is equal to 2. And the only thing that I have left is to find the d. And so now for d, I can add all of those together. So I can go 3 minus 2 plus d equals to the very first term, which is 7 in this case, and then that would make my d equal to 4. Okay, because that'd be gone, and then d7 minus 3 is 4. Okay, so we got that, which means we have everything we need now to write the correct answer. It's going to be 3n to the third, alright, minus 2n squared plus 2n plus 4, alright. And so there you go, there's the formula for the nth term. Okay, so we have a couple of sums that we want to try next. Okay, but before we do that, I want to go ahead and write out the sequence in order to make sure that we can verify that it is cubic. Alright, and it is cubic, we do know because of the n to the third, but we want to make sure that we have all the parts that we need to plug into the sum formula. Alright, and so if we take a look, this is one that we've already done from here in the notes, right? This is just the sum of this formula. So I already know that this is going to be my sequence. So I'm just going to go ahead and write it back. So this will be, let's see, 2, 30, 90, 194, 354, right? And of course my differences still hold here because I've already calculated those. 60, 104, 160, again 32, 44, 56, and 12 and 12. Alright, so these numbers along here are going to be the ones that we're going to pull into the formula. Alright, so let's follow the formula out. It's going to be n over 24 is the first part of it, right? So we'll go n over 24, but remember n, the number of terms, I'm adding up to 20. So 20 is going to go in for n. So this is going to be 20 over 24. Alright, so let's look now at what's next. It's going to be n minus 1 times 12 times b. So n minus 1, 20 drops 1 to 19 times 12. I may have said that wrong. It's going to be times 12 times b. Okay, so what's the value for b on this one? Well, remember, don't forget, we're not looking for the value of b here, so it's not 4. But what does b stand for? The first difference. So be careful with that. The b of the sum formula is different than the b of this formula, the n formula. So be careful with that. So I need the first difference now to be times 12. Well, what was my first difference? Alright, so when we look in here, our first difference is going to be 28. So that means 28 goes here. Alright, then I'm going to add that. Let's see what we need to add that to. We need to add that to n minus 1 times n minus 2 times 4c. n minus 1, 19, n minus 2, 18 times 4, and for the rest of it, 4 times c, and don't forget, remember, c here is the second difference, and so my second difference is actually 32, so that'd be 4 times 32, and from here we're going to add some more stuff to it. And what are we going to be adding here? N sub n minus 1 times n minus 2 times n minus 3 times d. And so that's going to be 19 times 18 times 17 times, and d stands for the third difference, which is going to be, let's see, 12 in this case. Alright, so all of that stuff gets multiplied together. We're not done yet, though, because we need a times n. We need to add a times n. So the first term times n, which is the number of terms. So the first term times the number of terms. Well, what's the first term? The first term is 2. And then the number of terms is 20. So it'd be plus 2 times 20. Alright, so from here it's just a matter of simplifying this down. You could actually put this this whole thing all into the calculator at one time if you wanted to, but let's just go ahead and do it step by step. So 20 over 24, that's going to be 5 over 6. Alright, so we'll multiply that out when it's time. And so multiplying 19 times 12 times 28, that's actually going to be 6384, plus 19 times 18 times 4 plus times 32, we have that as 43,776. Alright, plus we also have 19 times 18 times 17 times 12, which is 69,768. Alright, and then that's going to be plus 2 times 20, which is 40. Alright, so if I add everything in the parentheses, I've got 5 over 6, and then that's going to be 119, 928, and the plus 40. And so from here, if I were to add all of this together and multiply this out, come up with 9,980. Alright, so with the formula by hand, that's what we have. That's what it looks like. We can also do this. Remember, there's an alternate method. Don't forget, remember that your Desmos calculator, it does have the summation function on it, right? So feel free to use that if you like. So for the summation notation, don't forget where you need to go now. We need to go over to functions, miscellaneous, summation. We're going from 1 to 20. Alright, don't forget this part needs to be in parentheses or it doesn't work out right. So it's going to be 2 and that's going to be raised up to your third power. Alright, so we got plus 4. Go back to my n. That was squared. And we got plus 2n. And then we got our minus 6. And notice that we get the same thing with the sum on the calculator as what we got when we did the thing by hand. Okay. Alright, we have another series that we want to find the sum of the sequence for. And so once again, we can go through and use the formula. It's still going to be 20 over 24. And so this time it's going to be still n minus 1, which is 19 times 12 times Alright, so the first thing that we come to here on the formula that we need to plug in is a b, right? And don't forget, don't lose sight of what b is. It's the first difference. Alright, so b is going to be the first difference. And so really, I need to go ahead and write the series out so I can see what all these differences are. Once again, if you were noticing closely enough, you would see that this formula is the same thing that we got here, which means this is going to be the same series. So I'm going to go ahead and write it back in. So we got 7, 24, 73, 172, 339. Alright. And so we start looking at differences here. We've got 17, we've got 49, here's 99, and here is 167. Second difference now, 32, and 50, and 68. And once again, we got 18 and 18. Okay, so the third difference is constant. We're cubic again. We said we were trying to plug in now what goes in for C. Well, what does C stand for again? C is the, not C, it's B that we're plugging in first. And B stands for the first difference. And so my first difference here is going to be 17. So that's going to multiply out by 17. Alright, plus we have n sub 1, which is 19, times n sub 2, which is 18. Alright, times, let's see what we got, 4c. And what is c? C is the second difference. So it'll be times 4, and then times c, which is the second difference, is going to be 32, times 32. And so let's see, what else do we have? It's going to be plus n minus 1 times n minus 2 times n minus 3, so that'll be easy. You just go 19 times 18 times 17. What other kind of action we got in here? Let's see. Then D is the third difference, so we have to multiply that now times the third difference, which is my constant difference, 18. So I'm going to multiply that times 18. And so now don't forget, you got plus AN. And remember, A is the first term. So what's the first term on my sequence here? It's going to be 7 times, and what was the rest of it? Times N. So N is the term number. How many terms is the first 20 terms? And so now we've got everything plugged in correctly. It's just a matter of simplifying. This same fraction now also reduces down to 5/6. And so multiplying here inside the parentheses first, 19 times 12 times 17, that should yield me 38, 76. Okay, plus 19 times 18 times 4 times 32. Okay, if you multiply all that out, you're going to get 43,776 plus 9 times 8, 19 times 18 times 17 times 18 is the biggest total so far. 104, 6, 52. Okay. And so we can go ahead and leave that in parentheses for now. I can multiply that out and get plus 140. Alright. And so here we can add up everything on the inside of the parentheses. So that'd be 5/6. And so adding all these together would get 152,304. Alright. And then still we got a plus 120 tagging along here. Alright, not 120, 140, sorry. Alright, so when I multiply this out and add this to it, I'm going to get 127,060. Alright, so there we go. Let's just double check and verify that too on Desmos with the summation calculation. So all I need to do is just kind of go back in here and change the formula up. So we'll make that a 3. We're going to make this one a -2. Going to make this one a +2. It already is. And I want to change that to a +4. Uh-oh, did something wrong there. Plus, oh, not 7, 4. Alright, so there we go. And so it gives us the sum. It is the same as what we got when we did it by hand, so make sure you notice that. Alright, so that is going to be it for this lesson.